in has almost nothing to do with her and almost everything to do with what you allowed in the first 30 days. Today, we're talking about how to set the tone right. We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. It's damn true. Happy Monday, guys. If I seem a little burnt out today, it's because I did two back-to-back pre-recordings yesterday. I did this upcoming Friday's episode and then next week's Monday's episode back-to-back yesterday, and I'm just like, I can't even think right now. My mind's mush. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. The funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. We're in week 2 of my Keep Your Bish series. And this chapter is where most men realize they've already made mistakes they didn't know they were making at the time. Chapter 2 goes into assertive communication, boundaries, and how you respond when she tests you early. And I cover this in the book because I've watched it play out the same way in relationship after relationship, including with guys in my wolf pack, and I've seen myself do the same thing too, right? So get through these 10 concepts today, and you're going to understand why certain dynamics in your relationship exist, where they started, and what you can actually do about them now. And stay with me because the 6th one is the one that's going to make a lot of things from your past relationships suddenly makes sense. And I didn't turn off the wolf pack here and the guys are chatting. Okay, let me turn that on. Okay. So chapter 2 is called Setting the Tone from the Start, okay, which is what the episode's titled. And one thing, like a lot of guys don't realize all the stuff that they're letting slide because they're Twitter-pated, you know, in a new relationship. You find this girl, you've got, you know, you're madly in love all of a sudden, you know, she's gorgeous and you overlook all of her red flags and you go all in. And then she does all sorts of stuff that you just completely let slide because she's hot. And next thing you know, she's walking all over you. And you know, even like if you guys do manage to stay together, she's walking all over you. Right. So you can't let that crap happen. I'm going to be very honest with you guys, right? It's way easier to do this kind of stuff from the beginning and then just never get complacent. It's so much easier. Okay. So if you find yourself, maybe you tune into Monday's episodes, you find yourself in a situation where, you know, your marriage just isn't salvageable and you have to go to you know, get divorced or whatever. Just know that it's going to be so much easier doing this stuff and practicing this stuff on a new woman that doesn't have preconceived notions of you, and you set that tone from the start. Okay. Women are a lot like Navy recruits. Okay. And there's a reason why I'm going this way. It's because when I was in boot camp, one of my RDCs said, recruits are like puppies, right? If you don't, you know, if you're not stern with them when you first get them, and you get them disciplined and you set the boundaries and the rules right away. If you do that with puppies, they grow up to be good dogs, right? And so it's the same thing with Navy recruits, right? If you play around with them and you joke around with them in the beginning, they end up being crappy sailors. But if you're hard on them and you're assertive and you discipline them and all this kind of stuff, when they mess up, they end up graduating boot camp and becoming great sailors, right? Well, the same thing with women, okay? If you let their bullshit slide in the beginning, they're going to end up being terrible girlfriends and terrible wives, okay? Good girlfriends and good wives are trained, and you can train a woman like a dog, by God. AI is going to clip that. And so anyway, so the first thing we need to work on is assertiveness. And we talk about assertiveness on the podcast a lot, but being assertive, it's not about aggression. Okay, you can be assertive without being aggressive, which means like you don't have to yell, you don't have to shout, you don't have to slam things around, you don't have to make ultimatums and stuff like that to be assertive. Okay. Most guys think being assertive means, getting louder, aggressive, but really the calmest person in the room is usually the one with the most control. Okay. So if you can learn some emotional control, learn some assertive communication that I talk about in all the Red Pill Guide series books, then you will get things met. You'll get your needs met. You will be able to set and enforce boundaries, and she will learn that you're not a pushover, and she'll actually like you more. It's kind of interesting. But when you stop over-explaining yourself, your words actually start meaning something, because people can tell when you're not looking for their approval. Okay. Like in a lot of guys, they end up going down this path of deering or, explaining themselves and apologizing all the time. But that just weakens your position in her eyes. She starts losing respect for a guy that's like constantly apologizing, constantly trying to keep her happy and stuff. Right. And women aren't necessarily drawn to the guy who makes the most noise. She's drawn to the guy who says something once and means it. It's kind of like if you guys ever read R.P. Thor's book, A Dominant Masculine Presence, he really talks about like the power of being the quiet guy in the back of the room. Like a guy with a dominant masculine presence doesn't have to say anything because he doesn't really have anything to prove. And because he doesn't say much all the time, when he does say something, people tend to look over at him. Like, you got to think of like the movies where you got the old grizzled veteran in the back who doesn't say anything and everyone's talking and stuff like that. And then when he finally chimes in, everyone shuts the hell up and turns to look because he's been the quiet guy this whole time. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're going for here. That's what we're going for. By the way, I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. Would you? Even if I'm going to WrestleMania, I will have a new episode. So this Friday and in this next week on Monday are going to be pre-recorded, but there is an episode. By God. So over-explaining is a confidence problem. Every time you justify a decision nobody asked you to justify, you're signaling that you need someone else to co-sign your choices. Okay. And this is a big problem with deering. Okay. Defend, explain, excuse, rationalize. We talk about it a lot of the podcast. It comes from Dr. Robert Glover's book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. But when you're constantly explaining yourself, you're not using hypergamy to your advantage. You're putting her above you, and you're making her the authority of whatever you're doing. Is it wrong or right? I need her blessing on this sort of thing. Okay. And then you end up putting her in the leadership position in the relationship. A lot of you guys think that your girl is your partner, right? She's my partner. We're equal partners. And that's one of the reasons why I'm constantly online saying, get rid of that idea. Get rid of the idea that she's your partner. Okay. It's not that, it's just a word, right? I've heard people say that too. It's just a word, man. It's just a word. There's other guys in the space that still use the term, but words do matter. And when you're conditioned to, like, when you're a nice guy and you're conditioned to look at her like your partner, what you're more conditioned to do is defer to her authority on everything. So you won't pick, the restaurant to go to. You won't, just make decisions. You always want her buy-in on everything. And what you're really doing is actually making her the leader of the relationship. Okay. And then she resents you for it because that's not what she really wants to do. Okay. So there's a difference between, there is a difference though, between giving context and seeking permission. And most guys really are blurring that line in the wrong direction without even realizing it. So if you catch yourself explaining the same thing multiple times, you need to stop. you need to stop, okay? Because the second explanation is almost never about giving her clarity on what's happening, right? And so that's where some of this nuance stuff is. You don't have to necessarily explain yourself, but you can give her clarifying, answers on why, or what you're doing, right? But you don't have to explain yourself. You know what I mean? A lot of the times it's just best, if she questions why you did anything, to just say, I just thought it was the best thing to do, right? Just leave it at that. Keep it short. I just thought it was the best thing to do. All right. I made a call. Good coffee in these coffee mugs, guys. Boundaries only work if you actually enforce them. How many of you guys think that you're setting boundaries, but you're really not doing anything? Let me let me know in the chat. What I mean by that is you're constantly giving like ultimatums, like if you do this, I'm gonna, you're gonna be real sorry. You're gonna be real sorry, and then you never actually make good on your threats. You just get more mad. A good example of this isn't really, a romantic relationship situation, but Red Pill Chick was like this with her kids, right? She was not the best at enforcing rules with her kids, which is why like her kids ended up both getting pregnant. Well, the daughter got pregnant when she was a senior in high school, and then the son got someone pregnant, right, when he was in high school. Because she would constantly say, you can't do this, end of story, right? Like, da-da-da, end of story. She would always say that to them. And then they would just go and do whatever they're going to do anyway. And then there would be no consequences. She would just be mad that they did it, right? Like that's not setting and enforcing boundaries. There was one time where she had both her kids on like Find My iPhone or something, right? It's some kind of tracking app. And both the kids were supposed to be staying at friends' houses, and both the kids were not where they were supposed to be, right? Like the daughter was out at some park, and her son was out roaming around Clifton, Colorado. And neither of them, like they were all out, and it was like midnight. And she's looking at her phone. She's getting really mad. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, they're not at their friends' houses and stuff like that. Like, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do. And I go, well, you know where they're at, right? And she's like, yeah. I go, why don't we get in the car and go round them up? Just go in the car, find them, and say, get in the car. You failed, right? And that's consequences, okay? But she would never do that kind of crap. And then she ended up having, a problem with her teenagers, right? And so the same thing happens with a new girlfriend, okay? You can't let her be running around Clifton, Colorado at midnight. You got to go round her up, bro, okay? So saying you have standards and living by them are two completely different things. And your girlfriend figured out which one is true about you within the first month. And what I mean by that is she knows what you'll tolerate, and she'll start walking all over you. This is why women will test you. Okay. Women are a lot of them are going to test you subconsciously, but they're all going to test you at some level. And if you aren't handling it properly, she's going to realize, oh crap, I could do whatever I want with this guy. I could manipulate the shit out of this guy. Right. Okay. So a boundary you let slide becomes a suggestion. And once it's a suggestion, it stops functioning as a boundary at all. Right. She just starts walking all over you and stuff like that. Okay. So the discomfort of enforcing something early is always smaller than the resentment you build up by letting things go repeatedly. Okay. Now here's the big problem. A lot of guys won't do this kind of stuff because they're conflict avoidant, right? You just want an easy life. You just want a problem-free life. That's why nice guys do everything that they do, is to not rock the boat so they can have a problem-free life, right? The thing is that you never really have a problem-free life. There's always something that's going to come up. You better learn how to just deal with it instead of trying to avoid everything all the time. Okay. So you got to learn how to set and enforce those boundaries. A really good book that I drew from for the Red Pill Guide series is When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. It's probably one of the best books out there on assertive communication. And I dropped a cheat sheet in the Wolf Pack for the brothers in the Wolf Pack to be able to go back to. It's pinned in the pinned messages at the top. But you could go through those. It has all the techniques like fogging, negative assertion, negative inquiry. All those types of things can be used and they're fun to do. Once you know what tools to pull out of the toolbox, you don't have to get mad or angry. You just start implementing the tools, and it's like Neo in the Matrix, like stopping the bullets as they're flying up to you. You know, like it really is amazing when you start implementing the tools, and then you see how well it works, right? All right, guys, let me ask you this. Think back to the first 30 days with your girlfriend or your wife. What's one thing that you let slide that you're still dealing with now? Okay. Really think on this and be honest. Okay. We're in the trust tree. There's no judgment here. But think back to the first 30 days with your girlfriend or your wife, and what's one thing you let slide that you're still dealing with now? Let me know either in the chat or down below if you're watching the replay. So I talk about testing. I talk about testing so much, right? Like in all my books. In fact, so the next book that comes out is Dick or Downright. I don't talk about a lot of testing in that book. That book is purely about seduction and sex and orgasms and giving her like ridiculous orgasms and finding her A spot. Do you guys even know what an A spot is? You probably heard about a G spot, but finding her A spot, that kind of stuff is going to be in that book. But like the Red Pill Guide series and Psychology Paradigm and everything I Wish I Knew Was AT, they all talk about testing because it's so important. It's so important to know that that women will test you, and they all do it. And most of the time it's subconscious. And if you don't pass these tests, if you don't know how to handle them, you'll allow yourself to be pushed down the betatization process. It's step one in the betatization process, which is testing the male. Okay. So you need to, I invite you guys to welcome these types of tests, welcome these frame checks, because they'll tell you, they sort of give you a temperature on what's going on in the relationship, right? And so you need to look at it like in different ways. And a good way is that testing sort of her way of asking a question. Okay. When she picks a fight over something that doesn't make any logical sense, she's not actually talking about whatever she's talking about most of the time, right? Like she's pissed off that you haven't taken the trash out or whatever like that. 9 times out of 10, she's not pissed about the trash. Okay. She's asking whether you're going to stay grounded, or is she going to be able to knock you off center? And whether she can move you emotionally, or whether she can move you emotionally. And the answer you give her with your composure matters more than anything that you can say. And guys who understand this, stop taking tests personally and start treating them like basically information. You know, I always look at shit. I look at everything a woman says or does like a shit test. That is the best rule of thumb you can ever have when dealing with women. Right? Just assume everything she says or does is a shit test and act accordingly. And what are the 2 easiest tools to go to for shit tests? Agree and amplify and indifference, right? So because a lot of guys will say this, do you think this was a shit test? Do you think, just assume it was, right? Like, how would you handle it if it was a shit test? Then handle it that way, right? But a lot of times, like, women will test you just to see if you're the strong masculine man she thought you were in the beginning, or if anything's changed, if anything's gotten weak lately, right? If maybe she'll start testing you more if one, you start working on yourself and you start sort of showing up differently. She's going to test you more. She's going to test you more to make sure that this new version of you is you, right? If you've been slipping a lot lately, her testing is going to come across as nagging and bitchiness. And then, it's like, okay, when a woman is being naggy and bitchy all of a sudden, and she hasn't in quite a while, shit's been building up. Like, there's something that you've slipped on. You need to sort of, maybe look back and go, where have I been slipping lately? Where have I been slipping lately? Okay. And it's not about, keeping her happy or whatever. It's about never getting complacent. Okay. And which is what next week's episode's about. Silence is a tool most men are afraid to use. Walking away from a conversation that's gone emotional, isn't running from conflict. It's refusing to let the worst version of the interaction set the tone. guys tend to get drawn into arguments a lot. And I just posted on, or I made a meme that I scheduled out for later today, that I dropped it at the Wolfpack already, but it says, like, arguing with a woman is pointless. Just let her be wrong, right? Just let her be wrong. But lots of guys, they get drawn into these arguments and these knockdown, drag out fights with their wives. And there ends up being like a screaming and shouting match and stuff like that because of your need to be right all the time. And so that's why I say, just let her be wrong, man. Like, you're right. Just let her be wrong. And so it's one thing where, she's trying to argue a point or whatever, but then it's a complete other thing if she starts being insulting or degrading or, anything like that, any kind of dirty fighting needs to end right there. Okay. And that's a good time to say, we're not doing this right now. You can talk to me when you can talk to me like an adult. I'm going to take off, right? Get in your car and leave, go somewhere. Don't allow her to be able to talk that way. Okay. So remove your time and attention. That's really the only way that you can hold her accountable anyway. You can sit there and shout her, don't talk to me that way. Don't talk to me that way. Right. That's not going to have the same effect because she's going to realize that whatever she said got you up in your feels. And then she's going to drive that knife in more. Right. But if you say, yeah, we're not doing this. Right. Now you're communicating from a position of authority. Now we're done here. You can talk to me like, I'll be back in an hour or so, but you can talk to me when you can talk to me like an adult and remove your time and attention. Right. And you got to understand that attention is coin of the realm in girl world. So removing your time and attention is pretty effective. And most arguments get worse because someone kept talking when they should have stopped. And 9 times out of 10, that somebody is the guy. Right. You can talk me that way. You're disrespecting me. I'm going to hold you accountable and yell at you. And like, it's like throwing gasoline on the fire. You're not helping the situation. But your girl will actually hear you better after, emotions have settled down a little bit. So really, when you stop talking and you remove your time and attention, you guys can actually come together calmly. She's more likely to hear what you have to say. As soon as you raise your voice, she's tuning you out, right? She's tuning you out. She's not listening. I don't like your tone is the card that she's going to pull. By the way, guys, so we're going through the top 10 concepts in chapter 2 of Keep Your Bitch. If you haven't gotten that book yet, what are you waiting for? Right now, your relationship might feel solid. She is warm, she's affectionate, she treats you well. And you think you finally figured it out. But if you look back over your life, how many times did things feel the same right before she pulled the plug? No warning, no big fight. Just one day she said she was done and you were left replaying conversations trying to figure out what you missed. Most men never see it coming, not because they're clueless, but because attraction fades quietly. She doesn't announce it. She simply responds to how you show up. And if you don't know how to keep attraction alive over the long term, you can be the most loyal man on earth and still get hit with the same ending you thought you had outgrown. The pattern repeats unless you understand why it happens. That is why I wrote Keep Your Bitch. It's for men who want to keep a good relationship strong, not fix a broken one. It teaches you how to stay grounded, consistent, confident, and attractive in a way she continues to respond to year after year. Whether you're in something new or you're in your second or third marriage and failure is not an option, this book gives you the structure to make sure you never get blindsided again. If you want to keep what you have and never repeat past mistakes, the book is available now on Amazon. Pick it up today. It's funny. I'm looking through my notes here. And I'm like, it's funny because I either didn't copy. I copied. I think this is gonna be funny. So I have number 6 and 7 here, and these are 6 and 7 for next Monday's episode. Now I'm looking to say, okay, did I did I screw up all this stuff? No. Just 6 and 7 are the same, are literally the same ones. But these two are yeah, 4 and 5 are different, but 6 and 7 are literally the same ones. It's funny. I'll talk about them though. I'll talk about them, but just it's funny because I had I got these show notes ready, right? These are ready, and then I had to create copies of because I do these all in Google Docs, right? So I make copies of these, and I made show notes. I copied them in for Friday's episode, and then Monday's episode, and then I also created show notes for this upcoming Wednesday. So I was just like juggling between tabs, so I screwed this up. But anyway, so number 6 for next week is comfort is the slow death of attraction. We can talk about that for a little bit, right? Because what we're really talking about, I'll add it to the context of what we're talking about today, right? Setting the tone from the beginning. How's that? But comfort is the slow death of attraction. So you got to look at like what you're doing in the beginning, and we're setting the tone. And we're typically in the beginning of a relationship, we're doing fun stuff, right? We're going on dates. We're having fun. We're taking her to dances and all this kind of stuff. That's really that's you setting the tone in the beginning. And then what most guys do is they stop doing that because they let comfort settle into the relationship, right? So if you've been doing that from the beginning, you've got to keep that going somehow, going forward. Now it does get expensive, it does get expensive to go on dates constantly, but it's important. It's important for that connection to not just, be on your phones all the time, to unplug from stuff and go do like fun activities together. It's important for a healthy relationship in the long run. So you need to keep that going for the long term. And a lot of guys stop doing that. Like they do the dating stuff in the beginning because they're trying to get a girlfriend, and and then they get the girlfriend, and they might still do that for a little bit when they have a girlfriend, but then they get married and they think that they don't have to do that kind of crap anymore, right? So I'm saying like, no, you got to keep doing that kind of stuff. You got to keep doing fun stuff with your girl, even if it's just once a week. But one thing that I would invite you guys to not do is always have the same date night every week and do the same crap, right? Don't do the same crap. And I like, my mind's swimming with all these different episodes right now. I think I talk about it in one of these pre-records, but I might have also talked about it last week. I don't know. Everything's running together, but I'll tell you the story. Let me know in the chat if you guys have heard this before. But when I was a kid, my parents didn't really do date nights. They would do family movie nights like once a month, and it was always the same thing. It was always the same thing. They would pack my brother and I in the car, and we would go to Pizza Hut and a movie. It was Pizza Hut and a movie pretty much every month. It was boring as shit, but my parents were creatures of routine, and that's what most people are. They're creatures of routine. So when guys are like, okay, I'm going to make an effort here and have date night, it ends up being the same thing. Let's go to Chili's and do, or let's go to Applebee's and do a 2 for $20. And then let's go to the movies, right? Like, and that becomes date night, and that's boring. It's not fun to do, right? So I would invite you guys to break out of your shells a little bit and start looking for fun stuff to do around town, and don't leave that kind of crap up to your wife. Get something like Groupon, get the Groupon app. Usually there's deals in town. Find out if there's concerts going on, anything like that. Just fun activities that you and your girl could do. Go to a bouncy house, right? Like go to a trampoline park or something. Go to Nurse Chick and I, we've been to an escape house a couple times. That's always fun to do. I think in Junction, they have one of those rage houses. Have you ever heard of those? Where you go into a room and they just have all sorts of stuff like old TVs, and you just go in there with baseball bats and just smash up shit. Like that sounds like a fun date, right? Like, think outside the box a little bit and look for fun activities like that in your area, and start doing that kind of stuff, and try to avoid falling into that comfort trap. Okay. Because you didn't do that in the beginning. And so we're trying to set the tone here. We want to keep that tone going in the long term. There we go. I think I pulled that out of my ass. And then I also have here, empathy is effective. So we'll talk about that more next week. In fact, I don't know if I don't talk about empathy well enough next week, but we'll put it in the context of of setting the tone in the beginning. A good thing. It's good for a man to really have some empathy, right? Empathy. The way I've always understood empathy, like there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. And empathy is the way I've always understood it. And I might be wrong. I might have this reversed. But the way I've always understood empathy is really just understanding where the other person's coming from, right? Like you don't necessarily, like you don't feel what they're feeling, but you understand where they're coming from. And then sympathy is trying to feel what they're feeling, right? Like, and I might have that reversed, but the way I'm using it here is you have an understanding of where she's coming from. Being able to have that from the beginning and understand where your girl's coming from really will help you set the tone and lead interactions with her. You know what I mean? And that's where like Luca conversations come in, because that's all about understanding where she's coming from and understanding her feelings on things without fixing it, right? We're not trying to fix their feelings. But when a woman feels heard and understood, that's when the legs open. So that's where having empathy could come in, because it'll get you laid eventually. If you can make her feel heard and understood without solving her problems, that's when the legs open. There we go. Pulled that one out of my ass since I screwed up those two. By the way, guys, do consider sending a super chat, would you? Because I am supported by viewers like you. Just like public broadcasting. Okay. Except for without the wokeness. Okay, so now we've got the right notes here. So integrity shows up in small decisions that nobody sees. So how you handle the minor inconveniences when your girlfriend isn't watching tells her everything about how you handle the bigger things when she needs you. Keeping a promise you made to yourself is actually harder than keeping one you made to someone else, and the discipline you build there transfers into every other area of your life. And you can't build a reputation for reliability on gestures if the everyday follow through isn't there. And honestly, if you go back to what we were talking about, God, what is it? With over-explaining and like if your woman's getting bitchy and stuff like that because you didn't take out the trash and all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of that's where like integrity comes in. Like if you said that you're going to do something and then you're not doing it, you're in her eyes, you're losing integrity, and she loses respect because you're not following through. So when it comes to, she's mad that you didn't take the trash out. By the time she's all pissed off and blowing up, it's because that's probably the umpteenth time that you've let her down in some way because you haven't been following through on the things that you said you would do. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, this is a problem that bites guys in the ass, right? They let their wives or girlfriends watch shows like Trading Spaces, and then their wives come up with all these wonderful project ideas for you to do, like they're not doing the projects themselves. They want you to do the project, but they have these wonderful ideas and you're trying to make her happy. So you're like, yeah, we could do that. We could do that. And then you promised that you would do it. And maybe you even were excited about it at first. So you went to Home Depot and you bought all the stuff, but then you just never work on it. You just never spend any time working on it. That kind of stuff is an integrity issue, because you said you would, you spent all this money on it, but you're not following through with it. It's better to just tell her no. Right? No, we're not doing that. We're not doing those types of fucking projects. No. No. Nope. We're not doing that. So it's better to have that if that's what it's going to be. Like if you're not going to have any time to do any of that kind of work or whatever, just tell her no. If you don't really particularly like doing that stuff, you don't have to do that shit. Just tell her no. Right. But integrity is really about making sure that you're following through on the shit that you said you would follow through on. Right. By the way, guys, get in a wolf pack, would you? We have a bunch of cool guys in there. They would love to talk to you about whatever you're going through. Bear Club? Not anymore.
Wolf pack, you fix what's broken. You lead like a man again. No pity, no therapy. Just fire, just flame. Cold bed, broken home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in, still not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack. Step inside the pack. Drop your past, claim your track. No therapy talk, no playing small. We sharpen blades, we take it all.
Give me a too sweet for that one. I told you guys at the beginning, my brain is fried from all these episodes and juggling all this stuff and getting clips ready. But I'll tell you what. So Friday's episode it's in the can, it's recorded. Clips are cut and edited, and those are scheduled out. And Monday's episode is in the can and it's scheduled, and the clips are. So I was working my ass off this weekend, man. Email's open. Look at this. Better close that. All right, let's go through the chat here because I missed the chat with the after the book commercial because I was like, holy shit, I fucked up the show notes. Told you guys at the beginning. My brain's fried. I'm not guaranteeing this episode. Let's just fuck it. Let's fucking go. Fuck it, you know? Well, fuck it. We'll do it live. Brother Joe's in the house. He says, good morning. Nurse Chick's in the house. She always gets this.
I'm so naughty.
She is.
I'm gonna come.
Oh, I will.
Pussy must be ridiculous.
Guys, trust me. It's fucking ridiculous. In fact, so Nurse Chick and I, we're driving out to Vegas on Thursday, and we're going to stay at Aaron Clary's house. And yeah, no, Aaron and Aaron's girl are not going to let us stay there again. That's a promise, baby. Ty's in the house. Good morning. It was good to see you, man. Nolan says good morning. Handsome Pete from Canada. Hey, all from Canada. Good to see you, Pete. And let's see here. Brother Kamal says, good to have you here to Nolan Bots. Okay, Doug says, she blew up over some Facebook messages public on my feed between another woman and myself. These messages were before we met. I handled it with excuses, promises not to contact her, etc. Yeah. See, it's weird, right? Like for all of us, a lot of us anyway. Before we learned all this stuff, we're so Twitter pated in these new relationships that we just let so much bullshit slide that if you really look back, you probably would have never been in a relationship with half these chicks that you were in relationships when. If you saw the red flags and didn't overlook the red flags from the beginning, you wouldn't even be in half these relationships that you're in, right? Isn't that weird? It's funny how that works. Let's see here. Dar Fitness says training women like dogs sounds like misogyny. And then he sent a $5,000 super chat to shame these whores. Hold on, let me. Where's that at? Here we go.
Shame these whores.
Indeed. And then because of the misogyny.
Misogyny.
Yes. That's what this channel is. This channel is misogyny. Dar Fitness says, my wife took me to a smash room a few years ago. It was a great time. More smashing ensued afterwards. Yes. Brother Joe with $5,000 super chat. I will give him this one here.
I was just going to say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
He definitely fucks for that. And then Phil's in the house and he says, hoorah. Good to see you, Phil. Good to see you. All right. Now this next one here, her emotional state is not your emergency. This is kind of an interesting one, right? Because you don't have to fix your girl's feelings. Okay. You don't have to fix her feelings. Women are like, will freak out about dumb shit all the time. In fact, this is an example of a woman freaking out for nothing. And also clearly telling us she has no respect for her man, right? In fact, this guy doesn't deserve any respect either. Nurse Chick and I, we got invited. Well, Nurse Chick got invited to go out for drinks down at CB's. I think it was last Friday. And it was there was a gal that she knew because Nurse Chick took care of this gal's father before he passed away. And so she invited Nurse Chick and I out to go have drinks. And at one point she's sitting at the table and she's telling us how they're going over the passes and it was icy. It happened to be really icy over the passes in Colorado, and how she was a nervous wreck the whole time, and how like the guy that was driving, she was just like freaking out and all this kind of stuff because he was driving on ice and she didn't think he was a very good driver and all this kind of stuff. And she thought they were going to die in a car wreck and all this kind of stuff, you know? And I'm just sitting here listening to her, like just talk mad shit about this guy and how she just couldn't deal with it and like all this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, has he never driven on ice and snow before? And she goes, oh, no, like we live over in Denver. We deal with it all the time. I'm like, so what's the problem? That's what I said. I was like, so what's the problem? I don't understand it. You know, well, it's just, you know, you can't control women's emotions, right? So, but I'll tell you what, I was like, man, Nurse Chick would never do that. Nurse Chick just has the ultimate like confidence in my abilities to handle shit. Right. But I think a lot of that is because of how I've handled everything going forward. You know, like we had a situation when we first started dating where we went out to a fancy dinner, and then we were going to drive down to the speakeasy afterwards. And when we got in my car, the starter motor went out. Right. So my car wouldn't fucking start. And in the moment in my head, I'm like, oh, fuck. Right. Because you know, anytime your car breaks down, it's like, oh shit. It was like fucking 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Cause I've told this story before, and all these guys, you know, these macho guys are like, why don't you just crawl under the car and swap out the starter motor right there, bruh? Like, why don't you? I'm like, well, because one, I was dressed in my nice sport coat, so I'm not crawling under a truck in a sport coat. And then two, it was like 10 o'clock at night, so there were no part stores open. So I don't even know where I would get a starter to try to impress a bitch with my mechanical abilities. So what I did in that moment, I said, well, why don't we just walk down the street? Because the place where we were going, it was in walking distance anyway. I was like, why don't we just walk down to that place and get our drinks there, and then we'll deal with this later, you know? And so then we walked down the street and we had a couple of drinks. The whole time I'm just acting like a cool cucumber, but in my head, I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do about this car? Right. But on the outside, I wasn't showing any of that. I was like trying to have relaxed body language. I was trying to, you know, like at least play it off like it was no big deal. And then when we got back, walked back to the car, I called Roadside Services, and, you know, we had it towed to a local dealership and stuff like that. And while we were waiting for the roadside assistance, like Nurse Chick just loved that I was just handling stuff, and she was just basically attacking me. We were sitting on this park bench in the alleyway, and she's making out with me and stuff like that the whole time. And all I could think of is like, what the fuck am I going to do about my car? Right. But I didn't let her feel that, you know what I mean? So that's good. That's good for guys to have that kind of emotional control in a crisis, because your woman's less likely to have an emotional problem in a crisis because she's going to know that you're going to handle it. You know what I mean? Like that's where women really feel safe and secure with a man that knows how to handle things, you know? Going back to that story about the lady complaining about the guy driving, that's a sad situation too, because that guy, he's her live-in friend-zoned guy, right? And he's just hanging around, hoping that she comes around and that maybe she'll love him and stuff like that. He's trying to take the friend zone to her heart. So it's like, no wonder she doesn't have any respect for this guy. It's a pretty sad situation, but you know, red pill is triage at the end of the day. So her emotional state's not your emergency. Another a good example of this. We had a brother in Wolfpack. He's gotten way better about this stuff, but I think it was right after he joined the pack. He had some kind of business meeting, some kind of business function to go to where it was really good for his career and networking and to hobnob with like whoever. And his wife called him like while he was at the event. And I think he even had to give like a presentation or something like that. And his wife calls him all flustered because she had a flat tire. And he goes, what should I do, guys? Do I just drop everything and like go rescue her? Like, what do I do? Because that's our gut instincts as nice guys, is to stop everything and go deal with her emotions and shit. Right. And we got to rescue her. And and he goes, should I drop everything? I'm supposed to do all this kind of stuff. Like, what should I do in this moment? And he's like, should I just have her call roadside assistance? I go, yeah. You don't have to go and rescue her all the fucking time. Just tell her, say, hey, honey, call roadside assistance. Everything will be fine. So she called roadside assistance. They came, they changed the tire for her, and he was able to do his presentation. It was a fucking win-win, because we told him that so he doesn't climb on her emotional roller coaster and freak out in the moment, right? So her emotional state's not your emergency. You don't always have to drop everything because she's freaking out about stuff, okay? By the way, guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm not on X anymore, but I am on Truth Social or Getter. So if you're on those two platforms, the links are in the description below. And then the last concept here is your mission has to come before the relationship. And we talked about this a lot on last Monday's episode, right? Mission first. You always have to be mission first. So this is one that a lot of guys aren't very good at this sort of thing. But a woman respects you more when she feels like she's chosen by someone who has something going on, not orbited by someone who entirely focuses on her, right? So like I posted this on social media like yesterday or whatever like that. But at the end of the day, a woman just wants to hitch her wagon to a horse that's going somewhere. Right. But a lot of guys, they lose all ambition after they get into a relationship and they find themselves, with a decent paying job. Like they're not trying to move to that next level. You know what I mean? And you don't always it's not about money necessarily, but a lot of guys also like give up all their hobbies and like, they have hobbies and then they meet a girl and the girl thinks those hobbies are stupid. And because she thinks they're stupid, you stop doing them. You know what I mean? Like there's all these guys that are like, I want a girl that does all the shit that I like to do with me. It's like, well, stop expecting that. Just have things that you like to do, that you continue to do, that you're passionate about. And women like that. She doesn't have to do it with you. Okay. You guys need to get rid of that, because a lot of guys do this kind of stuff on dating apps and stuff, right? They're like, I want a woman that's really into football and a woman that, goes fishing and hunting and all this kind of stuff. It's like, so you want to date a man, like you're better off doing that kind of shit with the boys and then saving her for other things. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to separate that stuff. She doesn't have to be your best friend that does everything with you. Okay. So keep doing that kind of stuff. Keep having hobbies, keep having things that you're passionate about, that you love to do. Keep working on getting to the next level of your career. Just always be working towards something in life and then just let her come along for the ride. Okay. You got to build a great life for yourself, not for her, not for anybody else, a great life for yourself that you enjoy living, and then invite her along for the ride. Okay. So your mission has to come before the relationship. And when your purpose is clear and you're actively pursuing it, the relationship has something to grow around instead of collapsing inward on itself. And she wants to be important to you, but not the reason you exist. And there's a significant difference between those two things and how it actually feels to her. You feel me, dog? All right. Those are the essentially the 10 concepts in chapter 3. Or no, we're on chapter 2. In chapter 2 of Keep Your Bitch. If you guys haven't grabbed that book yet, what it's for, Keep Your Bitch, is the book I wrote because the entire Red Pill Guide series is kind of a which way series, right? There's basically 2 avenues people find their way into the space, right? They get dumped, or they're trying to get their wife to fuck them, right? Those are the 2 main avenues that bring guys to this space. They get dumped, or they're trying to fix a broken relationship. Okay. So they come to this space. So Get Her to Fuck You Again is for guys that their wife's not fucking them, and so they're trying to fix that. Or Forget That Bitch is guys that have gone through a breakup and they need to move forward. Okay. So both of those books, either you get your wife to start responding well again and things are, going well and you want to keep them going well, or you move on to a different woman and you don't want this relationship to end like the last relationship. Okay. So that's where Keep Your Bitch comes in, because it's all about maintaining that attraction for the long term in a long-term relationship. Because there's a shitload of dating books out there. And there's a lot of books to fix broken relationships out there, but there's not a whole lot of preventive medicine type books to keep things going for the long term. And that's really what I wanted with Keep Your Bitch. So if you guys have read Get Her to Fuck You Again or Forget That Bitch, Keep Your Bitch would be the next one for you, assuming everything's going good for you and you don't want to fuck it up. And then if you really want to cement it, get the workbook too. But I'll tell you what, the workbook is most important for Get Her. Like if you're trying to fix your dead bedroom situation, the workbook's more important there. And if you're trying to get over a breakup, the workbook's really important there. The workbook's kind of just a nice to have for Keep Your Bitch. And I wanted to keep things consistent. All right, guys, that's all I got for this episode. Tune into the podcast on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about some concepts I got from a guy named Chest Rockwell. That's not his real name, or Chesty. We could refer to him as Chesty. He's kind of a legend in the red pill space, especially the married red pill space. He's good friends with that bastard Ryan Stone, and he did a podcast several years ago with Rob Says. I don't know if you guys know who Rob is, or Rurb. Sometimes they refer to him as Rurb. But he was on Rob's show a couple years ago, and he was talking about stuff like thinking about women in the abstract and why a lot of guys consume a lot of online dating content and books, but they still don't get the results they want. And it's the way he broke this stuff down and why a lot of the online advice isn't working for you is pretty interesting. So we're going to go through that on Wednesday. I thought that would be a good episode. I invited Chesty to come on the podcast to talk about that stuff several years ago, and he wasn't interested. I don't think he likes me that much, or he's just indifferent. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of these guys that were in the married red pill space, they have I don't know. They have they're kind of cynical. a lot of them just don't trust anybody. It's kind of interesting. A lot of them want to just stay anonymous and stuff like that, which we can always do in an anonymous show. I can always have you guys, if you guys ever want to come on the show, the Wolfpack brothers ever want to do a show and you want to stay anonymous, we can leave your camera off. That's okay. Like those episodes work fine. But for whatever reason, Chesty didn't want to do it. But what he was talking about was so good that I was like, man, I need to do an episode on that. So that's what we're going to do on Wednesday. Let's see here. Brother Joe says, I sold all my Bitcoin in 2015 because she kept giving me a hard time over it being stupid. At the time, I was like, F it. I made a few $100 and moved on. Oh, damn, dude. It only goes up. It's only been going up. I guess you won't be doing that anymore. Oh, what? Hold on. What is this here? We need to. There we go. And then this one is spam from Kick. So we'll ban that one there. All right, guys, that's all we got. If you guys haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will be live on Wednesday, so we'll see you then. And then unless I get a sponsored episode for tomorrow afternoon, then we'll see you tomorrow afternoon. But we never can tell with that sort of thing. Either way, we'll see you next time.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.